How can you get them educated? How can you really tell them the key points of your brand that's gonna make them wanna come back? And not just wanna come back, but wanna come back to shop with you. Someone walks into your store, you might have 30 seconds or they might, stay and be chatting with you for 20 minutes. So what can you say to make them A, stay a little longer, and B, like, really dive into the conversation with you?
This is the Pass the Pitch podcast with Anna Frazzetto. Each episode, we sit down with bold thinkers and industry trailblazers to uncover the strategies, stories, and sparks of inspiration that drive growth and transformation. Let's get started.
Welcome to Pass the Pitch. And today we get to do something a little bit different. For those of you that follow me and know what I've been talking about lately, I am fascinated by the Gen Z world because I do feel that there's such a mixed commotion out there as far as Gen Z being viewed as an entitled generation versus I think there's so much that we can learn from them as far as how they're approaching sales overall. Also, today, we're going to focus a little bit differently in a different area of sales, which I think is so critical to understand because there are so many components that really match the B2B space that most of us are in. So, welcome to Pass the Pitch. And today we're going to be exploring a part of the sales world that most of us in B2B never get to see up close. And that is luxury retail. Yes, we're going to talk about luxury retail. The reason I'm focusing on this is as it is one of the most disciplined sales environments there is. And I really started to learn more and more as I had the opportunity to talk to individuals like Isabella Giuffra that we're going to have today, where credibility has to be earned instantly, right? Loyalty is intentional. The client doesn't just buy a product, they are buying identity and experience. And at that time, when so much commerce has moved online, luxury still relies heavily on that personal touch, that expertise, that long term relationship. So, my guest today is Isabella Giuffra, who currently is a client advisor for a high end luxury brand. And she's part of the new generation of sales professionals and who had to learn how to build trust, communicate value, and maintain relationships in a world where the consumer has more buying channels than ever, right? And they have more buying power than ever before. So, Isabella, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So I appreciate being on with you, Anna.
Thank you.
But what a great introduction. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. But just, yeah, it's definitely a different aspect, but I'm happy to dive into it with you.
Excellent, excellent. So let's get started a little bit about, luxury sales. So when we say luxury sales, it feels like a world of their own, right? How did you get into this field and what attracted you to it? So like, for example, was it the fashion first or the sales effort that kind of attracted you to it? Was it breaking into luxury just as a competitive spirit? Maybe you could explain a little bit of your history.
Yeah, definitely. I would say for me, the fashion aspect definitely came before the sales. Growing up, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, what field I was going to go into, but I loved fashion. I was always kind of up to date on trends, who was modeling for what latest runway show was circling the media. And I figured, you want to do something you're passionate in. So how can you merge the two? And this kind of like fell into my lap. I gave it a shot and I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it more than I thought I would, honestly. And it just kind of happened really organically and naturally for me that I'm like, you know what? Let's, put my best foot forward into something I'm passionate about. Sales kind of came a part of that. And I'm just taking it one day at a time and really building into this field.
That's a great perspective, and I think you really hit on such an important point that often we feel pressure, especially when we first graduate, that we have to get a job, and then we forget what we're passionate about, and keeping that top of mind. Because if you're passionate about something, it's not work; it becomes like a natural thing that you want to do day in and day out.
Right. I totally agree. I think you kinda have to happen or let it happen naturally in order to really enjoy it. Like, you don't wanna dread your lifestyle and your career path. So when it's something you're really interested in, it becomes fun. It's like work is fun.
That's great, that's great. So now, okay, what surprised you about selling luxury? So once you got into the role, what surprised you the most about selling luxury goods? And I have a couple of, follow-up questions to that. Was there something you assumed would matter and it actually didn't? Was there something you didn't expect but would matter but really did? So maybe you can explain that a little bit.
I would say, like, really diving in on educating the client. Like, there are so many other brands that they could be shopping with. So I think really diving deep into, like, why did we craft this? Who crafted it? Where did it craft it? Someone walks into your store, you might have 30 seconds or they might, stay and be chatting with you for 20 minutes. So, what can you say to make them A, stay a little longer, and B, like really dive into the conversation with you? And some people walk in and out, they're not looking to really shop. But when you get that opportunity, it's like you have to take every advantage of it and really just kind of get into the education process of what we're about. How can I quickly, in a few words, tell them about my brand and what we stand for?
See, and that's great because I related to sales in the business to business world, the world that I'm predominantly part of. And it's you want to show that value, right? That's what's
Right.
going to establish the relationship with the client. So it's all
Mhm.
about relationship and value, which I think are key elements. I think the big difference with you is you need to kind of show it quickly so that you can stimulate that interest.
Exactly. And value is a huge area of focus, of just quality of product. Like, as I said before, there's so many other brands, there's so many other competitors. How can you sell yours against these others? Like, every brand is really, making the same styles. There's only so much that you can really come up with, and there's so much out there now, and so many that are new and adapting that there's just so much competition that selling your value as I think your key supporter is gonna gain you the best outcome for sure.
That's great. So that kind of leads me to the next part where we talk a little bit about client hunting and origin of relationships. So in B2B, we typically call it like, your pipeline, you're identifying prospects, you're nurturing them, you're covering, trying to convert them into real deals. In luxury, how do clients actually come into your world? Do you proactively go after, or, what's the process? Maybe kind of walk me through how you do your client hunting.
So I would say majority of it is kind of the walking clients walking into your boutique and you taking advantage of that moment. Of course, you might, on your day off, bump into someone wearing your brand, gather information, like, and be like, oh my God, let me represent you. Let me be your new advisor. And sometimes it does happen, but I would say on a day to day basis, it's going to be capturing those prospects that walk into the brand. They don't know anything. This is like your time to shine, basically. How can you get them educated? How can you really tell them the key points of your brand that's going to make them want to come back? And not just want to come back, but want to come back to shop with you. And that kind of opens up the branch of like techniques, and everyone is going to sell in a different way. So that's kind of up to you to decide how you approach that. But at the end of the day, it's really capturing their information, making sure you have a way to reach out, and then following up, continuing to grow, whether it's just a check in. Hey, how are you? Oh my God, we got this in. I think you would look amazing in it. I heard you were going on vacation. How was it? Anything to just keep the communication and keep building on it, because you might only have 5 minutes for that initial reaction to start. And then how can you build that into a years long, long-term relationship?
And that's great, Bella, because you highlight, some of the things that I constantly stress on the sales side is how do you stay top of mind with your prospects and your
Mhm.
clients? And by doing those reach outs, either a text message or an email or a phone call where you're saying, we have something really cool that came in, would love to see you in it, or asking them about personal stuff like vacations, that becomes a great way of being able to keep that hook going, right? You keep them intrigued with you. Now, do you feel that there's competition in trying to maintain the relationship?
I do at times. I think where you're located has a lot to do with it. If you work in a big city in a flagship location, there's a lot more foot traffic and there's also probably a lot more other advisors you're working with. So if someone walks in, they shop with you once, but you don't really keep that connection, you forgot to follow up once, they forgot it's been months, they come back in and they don't look for you, not that it's an opportunity missed, but someone else can kinda swoop in, grab them, and then that could be their top client. So I would say you do have to be, like, a little bit on top of, like, owning your business a little bit. Like, you sold to them, good, make them your client. Like, make them repeaters, make them, your next VICs, your elite clients, where they're coming back and they're mentioning you, they wanna know where you are, what do you have for them, that you really build it. And honestly, for me, like, a huge thing is starting with the non-product related, like, questions, getting to know them. Who are they? What do they do? Who do they work for? Are they more stay at home? Like, just knowing their lifestyle so that you can present things that they're gonna want, they're gonna need, they're gonna be thinking about and coming back to you and eventually shopping with you.
Right, and I love that because, again, it highlights the fact of, being curious about your potential buyer and establishing that relationship as 2 key ingredients in being able to maintain it. Now, do you have a system that manages, like, client relationships? So once you establish a client, it's in the system and it says, "This is Isabella Giuffra's client."
So, we do, kind of like in our portal. Under like, it's super important for all of our clients to have a profile. Even if they haven't shopped our brand yet, they come in, you gather their information, immediately put them in the system. And they will be registered under the advisor that made that profile. So that's kind of a good way to attach your name to them immediately. And then that's when you really start building their transaction history, all their products going to be listed, information. I like to keep notes on my clients, whether it's like, sizes or colors they like, styles they like, they hate, hoodies or zippered or anything like that. Just keeping notes so that when things come in, like, who to think of. And of course, it takes time. And that is just something you have to be patient with, but really optimizing every little key factor in our system and filling out as much information is just gonna be the most helpful towards your business.
Oh my god, you're singing my song here because I'm constantly working with salespeople and saying the more information you put into your system, the better it is for you in being able to manage that potential prospect and client. Let's talk a little bit about selling value versus just selling the product, right? So luxury buyers don't just purchase a handbag or clothes. They're purchasing identity, right? It's the craftsmanship, it's discretion, it's experience. How do you help a client understand the value behind the brand and not just the product?
I think that's a really important topic because you want the experience to be like a lifestyle change. You want them to feel confident in what they're wearing and how they're presenting themselves. And a lot of that starts from getting to know your client and then building on that. Why is this going to be the best for your lifestyle, for your money? Because we're going to sell you something that's going to be timeless, something that you're going to wear in 30 years and you're still going to rock it, something that you're going to appreciate the value of, that the leather, the craftsmanship, the fabric was hand stitched. And that's something that I always want to tell my clients. I don't want them thinking a factory and, robots put this together. I want them to know the hard work that really went into it and how it was handmade. So you're not buying something that anyone could have sold you. You're buying something that is designed for you. And even at our brand, we offer made to order things because we want our clients to know we are going to design it exactly how you want it so that this is a piece that you're going to remember the story, you're going to remember when you bought it, who sold it to you, and something to just create a memorable moment. And I think that really feeds into clients coming back to the brand, wanting to know more about the brand and really sticking with it, through changes, through different creative directors, but really staying loyal to you and staying loyal to the brand.
I love that because you're also talking about storytelling, and I think the key with storytelling, people can relate to a story versus just showing up with facts and figures, and people
Mhm.
are not going to remember that. But if there's a story that they can connect with, that makes it part of that long lasting relationship. I want to share one little tidbit. There's a gentleman, Simon Sinek, who's really well known in the sales industry and has written many fantastic books. I'm a big fan. And he had this topic that he talks about the perspective of luxury brands versus copies. And he said, the luxury name carries the weight, and there's a respect associated with that luxury name that also it's earned it's like an accomplishment by you being able to achieve that. You will treat that bag differently than a copy, even though the outside world doesn't know that if it's a good enough copy, a copy versus something that's real, you will treat it differently because you're not going to have that same value for it.
Mhm. I couldn't agree with that more. It really is. It's so true. Like it's a respect thing, and it might sound silly, but then you really do treat it differently, and the story behind it doesn't mean, like, nearly as much. And storytelling, I think, is definitely a huge thing because when there's something behind it and meaning behind it, it's automatically valued higher, like, it's just viewed with such more respect, so I really agree with what he's, saying there.
Great, great. So let's talk a little bit about trust, expertise, and kind of credibility. So there's also a credibility factor in luxury, right? Clients expect that the advisor to really know the product and the house that they represent. How do you build trust quickly when you're interacting with a new client? Like, do the clients ever test your knowledge? Do they expect
Mhm.
guidance versus being left alone? Like, how do you kind of bridge that?
I think it's a little bit of both, but more times than not, I would say they do kinda wanna be guided, they wanna be shown, they wanna kinda be told, and like, we're stylists, like, it's my job to make you feel the best, to make you feel the most comfortable and confident in what I can style you in. I don't wanna, put someone in something that they feel, like, totally awkward in, they don't wanna wear it. I want them to love it and to be, like, obsessed with it. Making it personal, having fun, laughing, giggling, trying things on, like, making it a full experience. That I think when you build it and you make it personal, and sometimes it's not product related, and that's honestly a great way to start because it's just building a friendship. At the end of the day, it's two strangers meeting. I know nothing about them, they know nothing about me. How can I make it a little personal? Find something in common. Maybe we vacation at the same place. Maybe it's something totally random. Our cousins, our friends, whatever it is, just make it personal, and that is gonna instantly make them feel comfortable with you and trust you. Because if you don't have trust, they're not necessarily gonna, be as open to ideas, where if they trust you, they'll listen to you. They'll go with your opinion because they know that, okay, you're the expert, and as you tell them, "I'm the expert, I'm gonna help you," they're gonna trust you, and they're gonna shop with you forever.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about repeat business versus one-time purchases and maybe kind of marry it a little bit with the whole competing with online and no touch buying, right? So, like when we look at these two things, so one thing people don't realize is that luxury is not just about single transactions, right? The goal is that long term client relationship, like you mentioned, you want to have most valued clients that are your clients for like the rest of their lives. How do you convert someone from a one time purchase onto ongoing client relationships? Or let me contrast it to, they come into the store and then they wanna go buy it online, right? And how do you counter that?
Honestly, that I would say is definitely a big challenge for us because online is convenient for people that are busy day to day and they don't have time to come to stores. They do shop online. And for me, I want their first time with our brand to be in person because I want to be able to educate them a little bit. If you go online and you're just scrolling through pictures, you might be like, "Oh my god, I love everything on here," but you don't know where it came from. You don't really know the inspiration, who thought of it. Like there's so many questions to ask that I wanna give someone the best first experience with our brand. I want that opportunity so that they don't wanna shop online and that they wanna come back. Because like, you spend a lot of money, you want an experience. It's not gonna be as memorable if something just comes in the mail versus you go to the store, you're making, new friends, new connections, you're learning so much. It's really about experience and how to deliver that to stop people from going online and just making it a single transaction.
And that's such a great point. I'll also relate it to, sales and recruitment on my side of the fence that, for example, there's a lot of online services that provide recruiting services where you can find people, but you're not dealing with a human that's actually matching for the type of person that you're looking for. So what'll happen is it could be hit or miss. You might get somebody you like, you might get somebody you don't like, but then it's putting a lot of work on your shoulders and trying to figure it out. I kind of feel the same way with what you're comparing. If somebody comes in and they get the experience, they understand, they establish that relationship, you understand them as a buyer. What'll happen in the future, I could use online to look stuff up, but then I can come back to you and say, hey, I was thinking about this bucket hat. What do you think? And then you could provide that advice. So it's almost like marrying the worlds a little bit.
Definitely. And honestly, I try to encourage that a lot and like almost like partnering with online. Like let's utilize online as a tool to build our business. So I'll, for example, tell my client, look online, send me what you like. I'll bring it into the store. Let's try it on. Let's have a little fashion show. Let's have some fun. No obligation. If you love it, let's take it. If not, we'll get you something else. Just so one, they can feel like online doesn't have this like dark cloud over it, like never go online. We can use online, but let's like bring it in person. Like, we're lucky enough where we can come into a store and do it. Let's utilize it. And let's come inside. Let's, do the whole thing, see what works, see what doesn't. Shopping online can be really challenging with like sizing and colors and then dealing with the return process. It can sometimes just become a lot where I want to make it convenient where everything you see online, I'll get for you. I'll basically do it for you. All you have to do is show up. We'll have some fun. We'll see what works, see what doesn't, and try to like partner with it and just make it look like a positive.
That's great advice, and I have to say, I mean, me personally, yes, I'll use online as a way of looking stuff up, but I much rather
Mhm.
deal with an individual that's gonna help me and actually close the deal, so to speak. So now how have buyers changed? Like, from your experience, has the luxury buyer changed in the last couple of years? Social media, big impact. Just curious, from your perspective, what are you seeing?
I definitely think social media impacts us. Some ways good, some ways like not so good. Not that it's not good, but I think social media kind of creates like these trends sometimes that we subconsciously just fall into. You see your favorite influencer, your favorite celebrity wearing something, you're like, oh my God, I want it. You look it up, you buy it. Maybe online, hopefully not, but like, we are so influenced just by everyday things. We interact with different people, we see new things, we learn new things. Every day, we're being influenced just by society that I think sometimes it could be really great that it gets attention on your brand. It gets people talking about it, friends sharing it, everyone, starts shopping it. So I think it could be really good. That, like, you almost have to use it to your advantage, that if someone comes to you, "Oh my god, I do you have these sunglasses? I saw so and so wearing them." You have to think in your back of your head, "Okay, a lot of people are thinking about it. Let's get a lot in. Like, let's start selling this product. Let's mention it to other people. Oh my god, that's my favorite celebrity. I want them." So you kinda then use it to your advantage and share stories and be able to connect with them about that. I think it could be challenging, and I think age sometimes plays into it. A lot of like the younger girls in the younger generation will come in and ask about product because so and so wore it. I don't see it as many with my older clients, but I would still say it's there a little bit just because now you see, in your favorite TV show, you see every designer bag and stuff like that, that I think it's in front of our faces, that it's kind of easy to connect to. And if it, starts a conversation with a new client and you end up converting that prospect, it's like job well done. Like we use social media to our advantage.
And that's great. What a great way to use the tool. Absolutely. So let me ask a little bit about, from a Gen Z perspective, the luxury buyer mindset. We're now seeing millennials and Gen Z become meaningful luxury buyers. What
Mhm.
motivates younger buyers compared to older buyers? And I think you kind of hit that a little bit when you were talking about influencers and social media. If they see somebody like the Met Gala just took place and you see somebody walk in with something and go, oh my goodness, I need to have that. So tell me from your perspective, what do you see?
Yeah, I would say definitely more Gen Z and like millennials are looking for those more trendy pieces, but that kind of opens the opportunity to sell them on the longevity of this piece. This is like going to be your next investment. This is going to be an investment piece for you. And like, if you look at trends of a lot of brands, some of them are so well with, like, reselling, and you can buy it back today and then sell it for, like, triple of the price. So for a young person starting off, you want them to know, like, your money is actually going into a piece that is really worth it. And that kinda, like, makes me think back to the story you shared, how if you buy, like, the copy version, your money's not really going anywhere even though maybe you saved a little bit, like, at the end of the day, it's if you go to resell that, it's not gonna be worth anything. So it kind of like all intertwines that you're selling them a piece on longevity at the end of the day, and you want them to know this is a timeless piece. And, kind of goes back to value and storytelling and all of that. But I definitely find the older generation like knows it a little bit more. And I think that's just because they've seen, the difference in leathers and everything like that. But for definitely, like, the younger generation, I would say it's kinda selling them on that this is an investment piece for you.
Great, great point. So let me ask the last segment here of our session. Advice for sales professionals outside of luxury. So if someone in software or staffing asked you, how do I sell value? What advice would you give them? And there's always things about, listening, knowing the product, but from your perspective, what would you say to somebody who's like brand new to sales? And what do you need to do?
I feel like for value, you need to make them know that what you are selling them, you're an expert on. So you're selling them something of value because it's a product that's going to be tailored to you. And that's kind of why we go through the whole process of, making it personal, getting to know your clients. What are they looking for? You want to sell them something you know is going to be a good fit for them. That's going to tailor all their wants and tailor all their needs. And gathering that information beforehand is kind of your building blocks to what values your product and why is that valuable to them. And just really like thinking of every aspect, thinking of their lifestyle. What does their day to day look like? What do they wear? What do they, shop for? Just everything. And gathering all that information, presenting them something that they know is valuable to their life.
See, and I think you sum it up so nicely, Isabella, because it relates so effectively to like a non-luxury brand, salesperson. You need to understand your buyer. You want to have that relationship. You want to be curious about their background. You want to be able to then kind of like problem solve and come up with something that's going to be a solution that's tailored to them. And those are all things that you're not going to get by just showing up and saying what a wonderful, product you have or service that you have to offer. So, what I appreciate about luxury sales is that value must be demonstrated because discounting isn't an option, right? Luxury advisors must win the relationship, understand the client, and build that long term trust, which is also very applicable to the B2B world, also. So, Isabella, I want to thank you for bringing this perspective and for showing us that sales, when done well, are about connection, experience, and trust, not just transactions. Okay, now we're gonna have a little bit of fun. I'm gonna totally surprise you
Oh,
here. We're gonna have some
okay.
rapid fire yeah, some rapid fire questions. So just basically say whatever comes to mind. What is the hardest part of luxury sales?
Honestly, I think the in-person experience and maintaining that and losing to online is sometimes just super challenging.
Okay. One thing online shopping will never replace.
Just meeting, like, people and interacting with people, you can't get that through a computer screen at the end of the day.
Exactly. And you hit that nail on the head. So, absolutely. Most underrated skill for a young salesperson.
I would say just keeping it really energized, keeping the spirits up, keeping it fun, let's laugh, let's have a good time, and just really, like, dive into the experience, take everything in.
That's great. So, what's your favorite part of your job?
Definitely just meeting new people. You come across so many people every day, and learning new people is just so much fun.
That's great. And then, um, favorite sale you ever made and why?
I think I would say a few months back, more when I was new with my brand, I met this incredible woman. She was like the sweetest person ever. And we spent like maybe a few hours together just shopping and having such a good time. Like, met her for the first time and had just like so much fun. It was just definitely something I'll always remember when I first started.
That's great. And again, it's that human connection,
Definitely.
right, that makes it so special. Um, I'm gonna ask this question. I'm not allowed I don't know if you're allowed to share any, brand names, but dream brand to sell for if you can mention a few, and if you can't, it's quite a right.
Um, Honestly, I don't even know because I feel like you don't know unless, like, you're selling it in a way that I love luxury
Oh.
now, but I feel like, moving into, like, jewelry or something like that could also be really cool that I would definitely wanna try out one day and see if maybe I like it even better.
Okay. And now 3 emojis that describes your job.
Oh my god, okay, definitely the shopping bag. I feel
Okay.
like that's a given.
That's a good one.
And then I would say the smiley face with the star eyes
Ah,
and maybe, like, the clapping emoji
ah.
because we're stainless.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Isabella, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. I had such a ton of fun today.
Thank you for listening to the Pass the Pitch podcast with Anna Frazzetto. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Our next episode is a two-parter. We talk to Adrian Sanchez and Dylan Swami on how two people can do the same job in very different ways. See you then.